Hi, I'm Chuck. I enjoy candlelight dinners, long walks on the beach, and learning about the history of small landmarks like this one that most people would just drive right past. So today I'll be talking about the history of this one-room schoolhouse, and I'll also take photos of this place and kind of let you in on the photographic process. This right here is the point where we cut to a gratuitous drone shot with some trendy music playing underneath it. One-room schoolhouses like this one dot the U.S. countryside. I'm sure we'll talk about a lot more of them as this channel goes on. Schoolhouses like this were pretty prevalent in rural areas of the U.S. Well into the 20th century, mainly because of the lack of transportation available to many rural folks. And although the automobile was gaining popularity through the beginning of the 1900s, many households, especially in rural communities, didn't have access to one. So with transportation being an issue for a lot of American families, rural communities needed more schoolhouses like this one so they didn't have to walk or ride as far. So right now I'm near Tesket in Ottawa County, Kansas. Ottawa County as a whole was and still is a very rural area of Kansas that relies heavily on agriculture. That means large tracts of land causing residences to be far apart, making this prime schoolhouse territory in the late 19th and early 20th century. So the schoolhouse behind me is called the County Line Schoolhouse. But prior to the construction of this one, there was also another schoolhouse that used the same name. According to a 1915 article in the Tesket News, there was another County Line schoolhouse a couple of miles north of here that would have served the same community and was sold in an auction in October of 1915. Hold on. We'll come back to you. So this sign does say that the schoolhouse was built in 1887. The Tesket newspaper says that there was a County Line schoolhouse that was sold in 1915. And it described it as being a few miles north of here. So I think there was a first County Line schoolhouse, and then this one was built later on, but it would have been sometime after 1915, which is when the first one was sold. Boy, it's bright today. So this schoolhouse is actually a pretty frequent photography subject for me. I think the first time I saw this location was in 2019. I have family that live in this area, so once when I was coming to visit them, this building caught my attention. So that spring, when the Milky Way was just starting to become visible in the early morning hours, I came here and got some of my favorite landscape astrophotography photos ever. For a long time, my favorite was the one with the Milky Way arching over the top of the schoolhouse, but now the second shot is kind of growing on me. That's the one taken with a somewhat longer lens, and it makes it look like the schoolhouse is like swimming in the Milky Way core. It's pretty cool. So I keep coming back here every once in a while for photography. The skies are pretty dark when you get this rural, so it's a pretty good astrophotography location. But since the eastern sky is behind it, it's also perfect for sunrise photography. So earlier this year in the winter, I revisited for some sunrise photography, and that's when I got the photos that you're seeing now. Now, when you read the Tesket paper from this time period, it becomes obvious that this building played an important role in the lives of everyday people who lived in the area. So in the 1930s, the paper was chock full of stories of PTA meetings, community get-togethers, and baseball games that took place here. The January 21st, 1932 issue records, "A community rook party was enjoyed at County Line Schoolhouse Friday evening. The adults also enjoyed the evening playing rook and visiting while the children played games. Ira Reinking, Harry Woody, and Jess Shelton were on the entertainment committee. A splendid lunch was served." I love that. A splendid lunch was served. Then in November of the same year, another community meeting was held, and this time over 100 people showed up to this tiny little building. While 1932 may have been a banner year for get-togethers at the schoolhouse, it wasn't such a banner year for the school's baseball team. On October 13, 1932, the Tesket News said simply, "Sunrise School played baseball with the County Line Friday. The score was 13-6 in favor of Sunrise." Got someone coming now. How's it going?
My dad was born and raised right there. He's dead now, but he went to school there. He was born in 1920.
Okay.
And he went to school in that little schoolhouse, him and his brothers. I was trying to look to see what year it closed, because a lot of these closed different years. They're all around here, you know. But this in here, you know, the guy that owns it right now is, I think he was in Kansas City the last I knew, and he moved to Florida. He was on the 1957 Tesket State Basketball Championship. He was on that team. He just moved the last few years to Florida.
Well, I think that went pretty well. When he drove up, he had a look on his face that was not very smiley, so I didn't know if he wasn't going to be too happy about me being out here, but apparently it's not a big deal. So yeah, let's go take a look at this schoolhouse. So there's a basement window over here, so I'm going to go ahead and show you what I can see through there. Man, mosquitoes are everywhere. We'll do the best we can. Here we go. All right, so that's what we're working with as far as basements. Maybe a little creepy, but not too bad. That basement was also pretty essential for this area because you may not know this, but we get a lot of, famously, we get a lot of tornadoes here in Kansas. We're kind of known for it. Okay, this Milo here looks like it might make a pretty good subject, or a foreground as well. So I'm going to see if I can get a photo that kind of shows off the Milo as a foreground subject. I'm also going to get new quartering shots because the light looks really great right now, so I'm going to redo those. Man, I'd really love to go inside and check out the architecture, but this just isn't going to be safe. I'll show you what I'm looking at. There's a big hole. Big hole right there. Can't do that. Big hole back there too. That's a shame though. I'll go around and see if I can get some shots through the windows. Get up a bit closer. I may have to use my camera as a bit of a periscope, actually, now that I think about it. Let's see, there's a hole there, holes all over the place. Definitely something's been living here, that's for sure. There's scat right there. But these are the holes that I was talking about all over. All right, you guys will get to see first. Ooh. That looks kind of cool. That's the barn owl. So I don't know if you saw it or not, but what just flew by there is the barn owl that Mary and I saw when we were here doing astrophotography. Okay, there's the super wide. I'm gonna shoot for a 1/30th of a second. Focus up here, and we are at f2. Good. Oh, that looks sick. So I actually also came here recently for this small Histories project and just didn't get around to filming the ending portion of it for a long time. When I came back here earlier, I wanted to do more astrophotography to feature the building. My friend Mary also joined me for that trip since she also loves astrophotography. It was extremely buggy and muggy, a little bit like tonight, but even worse. So you can probably tell the bugs are a little crazy tonight. The Milky Way is going to come up right up over the schoolhouse. And actually, as soon as it gets dark, the Milky Way is going to be in the right spot. It is mostly dark right now, but we've got a little bit of time left until astronomical night. So right now, it is not that. I'm gonna get a time lapse going and a super wide shot of the house. There's a Mary in the dark.
And I'm being eaten by bugs. So many bugs.
I turned on the white light earlier and just immediately was swarmed with like hundreds and hundreds of bugs. But we have an incredible composition going on with the Milky Way right over the schoolhouse, the road going off and meeting the end of the Milky Way. So there's the nice little triangle composition. I have a time lapse going for the next 35 minutes or so. And that's going to translate at 15 frames per second. That's going to translate into about 10 seconds worth of video. All right, let's see what we got. There was one frame where a firefly went zoop in front of it. Yeah, sorry for all of this. It is muggy and buggy out here. But we made an interesting discovery. It was a barn owl. So that was pretty cool. So we're gonna stay a bit longer, probably another hour or so. And we're going to face our cameras north this time, and north-ish, and get some star trails. The stars circling around the North Star. So eventually, as people were able to travel farther and the population in rural areas started to decline rapidly, smaller school districts like these were consolidated into the districts of the nearest towns. There was no longer any need for the one-room schoolhouse. The county line schoolhouse closed down in 1945, according to that sign over there, and it now makes a very good home for barn owls. I personally really loved researching about the history of this building. It was the site of formative memories for generations of people. Dozens, many of whom have passed away or moved on decades ago, chased each other around these grounds playing tag, doing the little hoop and stick thing and getting into trouble. They excelled in their academics, they struggled in school, they sang in ensembles, they put on plays, and apparently they lost baseball games. They walked uphill both ways in the snow to get here and learn their multiplication tables. They met their first crushes here, and now people drive by on the highway half a mile away without ever noticing this place. And this is the reason that I wanted to start the Small Histories project. Places like this, while we never give them a second look, they used to play a pivotal role in the daily lives of everyday people back when these buildings were in use. So if you like this project and you'd like to support me, please like and subscribe. That really helps my numbers. If you'd like to buy prints of my work or hire me to do photography at an event, shoot family photos or whatever you like, there's a link to my website in the description below. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, you should comment that it wasn't a barn owl at all. It was an Andean condor. All right, thanks everyone.